How's it going, YouTube? I'm back with a new video, and yes, I know I've had a massive break between my last upload and this upload, and there are reasons for that I will get into at the end of the video so I don't delay the profile for too long. Now this is going to be my new Gagaga deck profile, and also Gagaga will be having a new series on the channel if I can manage to keep doing it, that I hope you all will enjoy, because I am hoping to do this series. But without further ado, let's get into this Gagaga deck profile that I honestly think can do pretty damn well in this format especially. So getting into the profile, I do have a side deck for this profile. I usually don't include a side deck in my profiles because I don't usually have the ability to build them. But we're starting off with the main, which is 40 cards. So we've got 3 Gagaga Sister, our normal summon of the deck that adds 1 Gagaga spell or trap, best normal summon you can get. Plus, she's vital to summon one of our best boss monsters, True King of all Calamaties. That card is just insane at the minute, and if you don't play Calamaties in this deck, you're probably just not playing it to its full potential. Sister also has the effect to target another Gagaga and combine their levels, and then so if they're a 2 and a 4, they become 6, so you make Magician level 7, and they become 9, and that's how you summon your Calamaties. You can actually summon multiple Calamaties thanks to the new spell card Onomatopickup, but I don't find that worth it sometimes, because this deck can do some extra things alongside Calamaties to just allow your first turn boards to be a lot nicer. And as we all know, the classic Gagaga Magician that changes from level 1 to 8. For the next monster, we've got Baby Topia, or Utopic Onomatopeira. This card is always treated as a Gogogo, Gagaga, Dododo, and Zubaba card. And in the main phase, you can, once per turn, summon as many Gagaga, Gogogo, Dododo, and Zubabas from your hand, one of each name. So if you have each of those names in your hand, you can summon 4 monsters directly from your hand. It can actually be incredible. You just spam out so many monsters for materials, and you still have revival to go through. The new cards that we got for this deck really help it just keep playing, and can actually, honestly, finally make it no longer susceptible to so many hand traps. Especially if you build it this way. It still was susceptible if you play it as a combo deck, which is incorrect, I believe. Because I was building this with a Time Thief variant, and I can show that variant if you guys really want to know the Time Thief combo variant that more focuses on making like 4 or 5 negates, instead of being more secure and being able to constantly play, similar to a striker deck, is what I compare it to. One thing that is confusing about this card that I was worried about, but I can confirm that it does work the way that I hope it would, is because it classes as all names, with Para can you only add this and nothing else. You can add this and something else, because you can class its all names as one name. So if you're adding it as a Gagaga card, you would then need to add a Zubaba card, but because you can add this and any other Gagaga, Gogogo, Dododo, or Zubaba card, you don't have to worry about that. And it's the same with any of the other double-barreling Gagaga names. I was really worried that the rulings would be you can only add this because it classes as all 4, but it's good to know that you can add all of them, and the confirmation came from multiple sources, the wiki, the Yu-Gi-Oh! Konami game that's on like the Xbox and Switch and stuff. And I feel like if those are officially named products from Konami, and the wiki's usually quite right, and lots of things on Reddit I've seen, then that ruling definitely should be the case. Next is 3 Zubababancho Gagaga Coat. This card is incredible, one of the newer cards. If you control a Zubaba or a Gagaga, you can summon this from your hand, which is excellent. He's actually one of the reasons we can now play through hand traps, because if your sister gets ashed and you don't get at the wind, you can just go, alright, I'm going to make a monster anyway. This card also has the effect, and you can use both these effects in the same turn, to revive any Gogogo or Dododo from the graveyard, which is mental, because you get a free special summon, and you can also revive a card. So this card just allows you to keep playing. Definite 3 of. Then this is the card I actually put down to 1, instead of playing it at 2 and Onomatopaira at 2, which is 1 Dodododwarf Gogogo Glove. Now if you're playing a combo variant, you play 3 of this, but because I'm not playing a combo variant, this card doesn't come up as much. We actually want to be discarding Onomatopaira instead of this card usually, because even though this card is great, you can actually play through hand traps if you play this deck just slightly differently, and I'm thinking of doing a Gagaga Masterclass in order to teach how to actually play Gagaga a bit differently just to see more success. Because usually Gagaga can't fit any hand traps or be able to be consistent enough to play hand traps or anything like this. So I've actually managed to figure out a way, and I'm really happy about that. Next is our hand traps though. 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. And this card is obviously one of the best hand traps right now and always is one of the best. You couldn't fit this in the combo variant. You also couldn't fit 2 Nibiru. Or 2 D.D Crow. Or 2 Lancea. We've got a bunch of hand traps here, and the fact that I managed to find the room actually comes from following OCG lists that don't play this deck as a combo deck and actually play it more as a control deck. And this deck actually performs so much better if you do this. My reasons for these hand traps is I looked up a bunch of like hand trap guides and stuff for this format, and Ash is one of the best, and Graveyard Interruption is one of the best. And Nibiru just is pretty good in general. I just like Nibiru. I know this is go first deck, but Nibiru doesn't really hurt you that much because you honestly only summon like 1 or 2 monsters, and getting rid of those monsters isn't a problem because you usually have Revival for it. And the last 2 cards that you can put for any hand trap if you can afford it. This is just what I have and what I can afford. I honestly would put Strikes in instead of this. So Strike is really good right now. And maybe instead of Nibiru, I'd also put Judgment, so I can have Strike and Judgment. That's honestly what I would do if I had the choice, and put Nibiru inside. But I personally don't have that choice. So hopefully I can, eventually. Now onto the spells. We've got 3 Onomatopaira. Now this card is our best searcher. It's literally discard a card, then add 1 of each name, but only 2 at most. So you can add 1 Zubaba and 1 Gogogo. 1 Zubaba, 1 Gogogo, 1 Zubaba, 1 Dododo, 1 Gagaga, 1 Gogogo, 1 Gagaga, 1 Dododo, 1 Gogogo, 1 Dododo. You get the picture. That's literally all the combinations. And so you get 2 cards off of 1 discard. It's great. The only thing I wish you could do is add Sister and Magician, but that would be a bit too good. And then we got Pickup. This is one of the new cards. This card searches this card, but also, if you've already got it in your hand, you can search a copy of Utopia Onomatopicup because it's an Onomat card. So this card can search our searcher and search our monster. So it's a ROTA, and it's also a searcher for a ROTA. So it also has another effect to target 1 Gagaga monster on your field and change all of the monsters on your field to the level of that monster. So if you've just changed your Sister and Magician to 9, you can make every monster in your field to 9. That's how you can summon multiple Calamaties. Next is 2 Gagaga Wind and 2 Gagaga Revenge. When that new pot comes out, you play that instead, and you can play 1 of this and 1 of this instead of 2 of each. But because I'm playing Desires, you kind of don't want to lose all of them. That's why I play 2 of each. You usually want to play 1 of each, but you kind of need them. So that's why I play 2. Because 3 Pot of Desires helps us get some draws. That's all. And it doesn't hurt. You honestly don't get punished. Last cards in the deck are 1-ofs, 1 ROTA, because we can add Zubababancho, Gagaga, and Utopic Onomatopoeia with this. 1 Call by the Grave, because hand traps can still hurt, and it's also an interruption, so it's another place if you don't want to play this, you can play another hand trap, or a trap of your choice. 1 Double or Nothing. It's an easy OTK if you go next. Like, if you go second, you can easy OTK, and if you're getting ready to, you know, go into your turn 3, and after you've done the negates and your opponent doesn't get to play, you can then just go hit with the 10,000 attack monster. Now onto the extra deck. So the extra deck, this is honestly where, unfortunately, if you want a really good Gagaga deck, you're going to have to spend some money. Because Gagaga originally was really, really budget, and off the bat, you can already see this like £50, £60 card right at the top of my extra deck. Luckily, I got this for Christmas. That's how I managed to afford it. So we've got Zues. We're playing an Exige deck. It's used as a summon. It's absolutely mental how good this card is. It's also one of my favorite cards in the game. I love it. So yeah, you kind of really want a Zues if you're going to play it. But if not, I'd put a second Calamities in. Because I only play the 1 Calamities. You only ever need the 1. You don't need to go over the top and go double Calamities. Because this deck can OTK so easily, you don't need to wait for the like 6th or 7th turn. But you can also put the second Calamities in for Zombiestein. This is filler. It's not great. It is a negate, That's literally why it's in there. It's like an, oh god, I've got a terrible hand. I can make a negate at least. I've got one Norito. Norito is a spell and trap negate. You can summon very easily with a Sister and an Onomatopiera or a Zubababancho Gagaga coat. It's just one of those backup XCs in case you can't make a great field. Utopia Double in Utopia. It's 10,000 attack. Then you got Bagooska. Again, it's just for stalling kind of thing. You don't make that great of a hand. Evil Swarm Exiton Knight. It's just a good XCs. It's just a good option to have. You got Gagaga Samurai. It attacks twice. It's pretty useful, and you can just slap a Zues on it. So, like, because it's not, like, the most important XCs, so, like, you attack twice and then just slap a Zues on it. Daigusto Emerald. Keep the game going. Abyss Dweller. It's one of the best XCs in the game. It's amazing. Making this and a Zues and stuff is just great. Or, like, well, this and the Calamaties, and then putting a Zues on top of your Calamaties kind of thing, or this. You got Cowboy for game. You got Dugares for free draws. I go into this every combo. And finally, Zodiac, Chakanine, and Drident. You can make rank 4s so easily. Making this and an Abyss Dweller and a Drident is just super powerful. It makes your first turn boards just really good. This deck honestly has so many options and has so much potential to be great. Also, these gold rares are gorgeous. I love how they have like a 3D effect. Like, you probably can't see it as well on camera, but I honestly love these gold rares. You did a great job with these gold rares, Konami. And that's the extra deck. Next, onto the side. So yeah, like I said, I actually have a side deck built for this format. And that's because I want to maybe do a competitive series playing Gagaga to see how I can edit the deck, how I can get better at the deck, to make Gagaga just the best it can be, because Gagaga is one of my favorite decks of all time, and in my original profile I did say that Zexal is one of the most important series to me when it comes to the Yu-Gi-Oh series, and I know that's probably quite an unpopular opinion, but I honestly love Zexal, I love Yuma, and I love Gagaga. It's just very sentimental to me for the time that I got into Yu-Gi-Oh and some things that went on in school. But honestly, here is my side deck. So, got 3 Draw Unlock. Draw Unlock's just a good hand trap. And you got plenty of room to side out things, because all that hand trap space just lets you side out so easily. So I put 3 Draw Unlock burn in case I go anything against, like, Pendulum, or anything that, like, adds a lot of cards. I have the 3rd Nibiru and the 3rd Lancea, because Lancea is really good against, like, Invoke Dogmatica. And just decks that banish from the graveyard, like Phantom Knights and stuff like that. It's just really good. Like, Graveyard Interruption is just really great right now, thanks to the decks that are, like, at the top. I've got, like, Gamma Seal and Gidaria for the fact that they're kaijus. Sometimes you need a kaiju. And I got the Pankratops in there, because Pankratops is just a good option when you have to go second. I have Regeki, because why not? I don't have, like, the money for Lightning Storm, so there. I've got 3 Cosmic Cyclone in case we go against some annoying back row decks. And I've got 2 Torrential Tribute, it's a pretty good card right now, and 1 Red Reboot for, again, back row decks. So yeah, like, I actually built a side deck that I thought, that with the cards I own, and the best I can, because I don't have the greatest amount of money, and building decks honestly gets really tough when you're trying to play a bit more competitively and want to play on a budget. I think overall this deck would probably cost maybe around about, I wouldn't want to say, like, too much over, like, 100-ish pounds? Like, because of the fact that the Zeus is where most of the money goes. Like, the Zeus costs quite a bit, and then the hand traps as well, that's probably where most of your money goes, and then the Gaga stuff only would cost you maybe like a tenner. So it's quite a cheap deck if you want to get a competitive deck that can do pretty well. And I will make a series, an episode of me, like, playing the deck and masterclassing it. So hopefully that will be up shortly. I am going to try and edit this video a bit, because I can now have access to editing software. And hopefully, I do want to do some remote duels. I just hope people I know will get a remote duel set up so I can do that and record them and upload them, because I really miss dueling. This lockdown has been torture. Especially for the fact I'm still doing college. So, actually, I am going to get into that now, but why I've not actually been uploading for quite a while. Okay, so, the reason I actually stopped uploading for a while was actually because of the fact that I was building so many decks for profiles, and because I wanted to make content. And I personally don't have a job, and still was doing college, and still am doing college, and it was just costing me every single ounce of money I actually did have from helping out my parents and stuff and getting pocket money. And it wasn't great because I ended up needing the money for other things. And I also just wasn't having fun doing the content, and it was stressing me out because I had to do college and was trying my best to make new decks and come up with new ideas and trying to make content, and it just got too stressful, so I stopped. I just simply stopped. But recently I've been wanting to maybe try doing it again. See, my friends have also been wanting me to try it again, and I have a couple of ideas of things to do. One idea is, like I said, taking this Gagaga deck into more competitive things, doing some remote duels with people, if I can find anyone to remote duel, doing some competitive on Dueling Book, even though that Dueling Book terrifies me. I'm always scared I'm going to get a judge called on me or something. I have a lot of anxiety when it comes to that. But I would really like to see how this deck can perform. I've built it to try and be as competitive as possible. And if you did want to see the Time Thief variant, I can show you that variant. That variant basically removes all the hand traps and puts in a Time Thief engine that continues letting you extend your plays. So you can actually make some really nutty combos where you end on a Calamaties, a Spell and Trap Negate, a Dweller, and a Drident. But you'd have nothing in hand. You have these 4 Xyz monsters on board and nothing in hand. And it was just, it's just so much investment for like your opponent then to just go OTK, and it's such a shame because that deck does work pretty damn well. But then, like I said, I looked into some OCG lists, and the OCG list actually had a lot of like lists that had less combo stuff and more like hand traps that let you play, and like the deck played as in you make a couple of negates and then you leave like a Zubababancho Gagaga coat in your hand to on the next turn summon it, revive a card from your graveyard and make another Xyz and keep playing. And then going into the deck with that mindset allowed me to remove 14 cards from the deck to then put in 14 different cards like called by all the hand traps and change the ratios around. It didn't lose that much consistency and gained a lot of like strengths because now you've got these hand traps and you've got like plays to get around the hand traps. And I honestly have been finding this deck way better than the original version of Gagaga that I had. It's actually quite cringy for me to go back and watch my old profiles when I was spending £20 I think on my decks in total, and the decks just weren't great. And I'm really happy that they got a lot of reception and quite a lot of views. And some people generally thought, like, oh, this is a really cool idea for the deck. But they weren't that good. And it really annoys me that those deck profiles weren't that great and that I was just doing them to try and get content out instead of trying to make the decks as good as I possibly could. And that's what I've done with this Gagaga deck. I didn't cheap out, I got the Zues. I wish I had the strikes, but I genuinely do not have any money to get those strikes, and my friend who does have the strikes, well, we can't really see each other to get them because of the lockdowns. But that's what I would put in the deck if I had the choice. I would like having trap cards in the deck and siding in more hand traps than playing the hand traps while going turn 1. But yeah, this has been my Gagaga deck profile. I hope to do a like combo / masterclass in the deck, showing you all the best ways to play through an Ash or like certain hand traps, all the best boards you can make with certain hands, and doing some random test hands too. Because this deck generally has quite a lot of strengths, and honestly, right now could technically be classed as a meta deck, purely because it can make Calamaties. And at the moment, isn't it pretty much some of the best decks is just winning because they can make Calamaties so easy? There's some funny combos you can do with this deck to summon 3 Calamaties with these. I really can't wait for when Utopic Future Dragon gets released, because I'm so excited for that card. I even own a Korean, I think, copy of it. But yeah, I own a Utopic Future Dragon because if I'm playing casually, I sometimes just use it because it's such a good card. This thing is a monster negate that mind controls the monster for the rest of the duel. So it's pretty good, and you can summon multiple of this because it's so easy to summon. So I can't wait for this to come out. We've got some new Gagaga support as well coming out in a future set. It's more utopic support, which is actually, the support's really good because it actually synergizes with the Gagaga deck really well. Like, there's a normal summon that can add Onomatopickup, that can then add Onomatopaira, then Onomatopaira can add other cards. So we can get three more searches, and there's cards that like use some really, like, there's just some really cool cards in there, and I will test them out if they come out in the TCG, because the new Onomata and Utopic support looks really good, and the artworks are really cool because it's all like Utopic related. But yeah, that has been the profile. If you enjoyed it, please maybe leave a like or subscribe maybe, especially if you're a Gagaga fan. I mean, Gagaga's great. So yeah, if you've liked the video, please just maybe stick around if you want to see some more Gagaga content, because Gagaga is one of my favorite decks of all time, and I genuinely would love to see this deck be able to kick some meta ass, because sometimes it's really funny to just play Gagaga and just beat a really good deck with it, because it's just like, you just got beat by Gagaga. And yeah, so hopefully you enjoyed the video, and if you do, I'll see you in the next one.